Hello and welcome to Man, Woman, God. I'm Nikki and my special guests tonight are Erin Goedhart and Christine Taylor. And tonight is our first part of a two-part series on marriage. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so excited about tonight's topic because it's about marriage and you two have got lots of experience and you've got lots to say, I'm sure. So Christine, you've been married for 18 years, yes, 18 and a half years you were trying to tell me.
Yep.
And of course Erin, 14.
14 years, yes.
Now tell me both of you, but we'll start with Christine first. Were you a Christian when you got married?
No.
Okay, so tell me how you met your husband.
In a pub in Adelaide.
Ooh,
yes.
You're definitely not a Christian.
Very romantic. We're both from Adelaide, so it's Grand Prix season, so all the a lot of international, interstate people in the Adelaide, and just going out. We used to go out and party and dance and drink, and that's where I met him.
But you were quite young though. You were about 18.
Yes, I was.
And you got married at what age?
I was married at 22.
Wow. Now that's actually quite young for being not a Christian.
Yes, it was pretty young. We were naive. We had no idea. Seriously, it was like we were madly in love, and.
So did you just think that the next step was to get married?
My husband was pretty keen actually us shifting in together and living together and wanting to be married, but I was quite happy at home, happy life at home, and my brother's 7 years older than me, so it's like a single child, and I didn't really want to go out and pay rent, and I didn't think we were quite ready for that commitment. But he proposed and I said yes at 20, and we went off. We actually started our own business, so that was the delay, and we we're madly in love, and it's going to be happily ever after, and that's what you do. You get married and have the fairy tale, and so we were young. We didn't have many friends around us that were married.
Right.
But we still partied. We got married and nothing really changed in our lives. We still just went out and had fun.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, what about you, Erin? How old were you when you met your husband?
I met Lenny when, I met Lenny actually when I was 17, just for one day. And I was dating someone else, but we had a friend in common, so he came to my house to pick this friend up and take him to his house. So we met for one day, and then we didn't meet again till a year later. But the funny thing about that story is that later that night, unbeknownst to me, my mum had said to my dad, he'll be back, Erin's going to marry him.
Wow.
And we'd met that one day, I was dating someone else, and I didn't see him again for another year. And then we did meet up a year later, so I was 18 then, and then when we got married I was 19.
Now, were you both Christians at the time?
No, I would not say we were Christians. We have both been people of faith almost our entire lives. We've both gone to church in our childhood and throughout our teenage years, but when we met I would say no, we weren't Christians, but we were people of faith.
Okay. Now you both have children, 2 children each. Now, when did the children come along?
For myself, so I was married nearly 7 years. So I was 30, having Jessica. So that was our first child. Yes.
All right.
What about you, again? 3 years. So we had Anya when I was 22 and Katerina when I was 25.
Okay. Now, ladies, Christine, I should say, when did you become a Christian?
We were at 30.
And you actually, both your husband and yourself, your husband Shane, which we should mention his name.
Yes.
You were both became Christians at the same time?
We did. We just we actually came to Melbourne. We did do a bit of travelling, so when we came to Melbourne, we actually just became surrounded by Christians. That's how it felt. We had people in our lives, people that we respected. That's where we're at. And then one day we were going back and forth from church, and then one day there was just a call. It was an altar call, and I could feel Shane next to me. I just knew he was going to stand up. Not that I didn't want to stand up, but I could just feel he was ready to go. And we both stood up together and we walked forward. And
that is beautiful.
Yeah, so,
beautiful.
Yeah. So,
I love it.
Yeah, we both fully baptised. I was 9 months pregnant, so just went.
Wow.
Nick of time.
Well done.
So he was a bit concerned when I was coming into the warm water, and I mentioned a water birth to him, but he didn't. He wasn't very impressed. So,
okay, Erin, what about you?
Oh, similar to Christine, actually. We probably became dedicated Christians, I guess, about 5 years into our marriage, I think. We moved to Melbourne from Perth, and met a whole heap of Christians. It's kind of like positive peer pressure. And a whole heap of wonderful people that we just loved. They accepted us with or without. They didn't mind that we didn't go to church, but because we did have a strong faith, that was a good connection. And you know, there was something special about them. Those Christians, you couldn't put your finger on it, but there was something special about them. And there was this one particular day, we were in separate cars driving to a particular event, and Lenny and I both had the same feeling. I thought, I really want to go back to church, but I feel like as the head of our house, he needs to lead that. And he said to me later that day, he said, I really feel we should be going to church. So it was wonderful. We were both, like you, I guess, we were really ready at the same time, which is just the way God works.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And have, you know, been happily practicing Christianity ever since. And yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Now, did either of you ladies ever have some pre-marriage counselling before you got married?
No.
Wow.
None.
Okay.
Should
So
have.
did
Yeah,
anyone,
I think we should
did
Should
anyone
have.
prepare you for what was ahead? Did your parents, did anyone talk to you about it?
No. And
Did
if
you
they-
want to know, or did you?
No,
Did you just
because
sort of?
I don't think so.
I knew
flow into
everything,
it?
as I'm sure you did.
Yeah, no, I did. I mean, you were 19, which you probably knew even more. But at 22, it was happily ever after. Why would there be any problems ahead of time? And so no, we just no, not at all. So and not even the discussion. I mean, we must just assume we're both going to have children, but not even the discussion of, you know, about what our life will hold for us. So yeah, no.
Hope for the best.
Hope for the best.
Wow. Okay. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about divorce and about a statistic that we all know and don't love very much. But we'll be back in a few minutes, ladies.
Okay.
We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. We're talking about marriage. Now, ladies, when we left for the break, I wanted to talk about this statistic, which we all know. So it says every third marriage in Australia ends in divorce. And I'm sure that we've all been affected by divorce, whether it's been, you know, family, friends, it's all around us, it's rife.
Nikki, I would even like to challenge that statistic, because I don't know that it takes into account de facto families. So I think the statistic in reality would be closer to 1 in 2 when you
Like for a
take
committed relationship.
That's
yeah.
right, when you take into account, you know, de facto families where there hasn't been a marriage but
Sure.
there are children.
Sure.
And those relationships end as well.
Yes, well, exactly. Well, that's true. So
That's why I'm surprised it is so high. That's why I'm surprised it is so high, because I thought, well, it's not including all those long-term relationships with children. So, but it's still 1 1/3. It's scary.
So, ladies, just tell me, have you had what experience? I know, Erin, you have mentioned that your parents.
Yeah, my
been
parents and my
divorced?
husband's parents are divorced. In fact, on both sides of our families, we have 3 successive generations of divorce, which is terrifying. And I think that has to increase the chances of you yourself getting divorced. If your parents, grandparents, and even maybe great-grandparents have been divorced, then what chance do you have? It's quite frightening.
But see, the funny thing about that is that your grandparents, if they were divorced, and your parents, that was not common back then.
No, it wasn't.
So, you know, for that to happen back then, that's quite uncommon, but it's getting progressively, dare I say, worse.
Definitely.
People are, you know, and I think it's probably sometimes, I'm going to put myself out there, but, you know, is it easier to get divorced than work through your problems?
Definitely.
Yeah, I believe so.
Do we sort of see
I
a
believe-
way
yeah.
out in divorce and just think, you know what, I can't take this anymore? But you know, but that's a heart-wrenching decision to make.
Of course.
But it's being made.
I think a decision has to be made. My husband's a single mother family, and I think all his generation actually divorced or children out of wedlock. There's just in his generation. So, and then on my side, it's different. We have no divorcees, all married, all children. And so when we became Christians, actually, that was one of the things that we were reading and praying on, is like what is coming down generational on us. And we really asked to be prayed over and anointed, because we felt, and Shane made the decision that it starts now. Our family tree starts now with us, and we get it right now. So he really made a commitment that this was a marriage and we were going to stick with it no matter what. And it was hard though, yeah. We had to really, get through the bad and really fight and be committed to, sticking with it. So I can see how some people think it might be easier to walk away, but in the long run, it's going to be harder and you're going to be heartbroken.
But you know what? The fact is that actually Christians are going the same way.
Yeah.
That statistic is there for Christians as well.
It is.
But we're not perfect. I mean, and we bring our issues into our marriage. Whether you're not a Christian or whether you are a Christian, you bring issues into a marriage. Yes. And I loved what you just said, that it's about recognising that, you know what, hey, hang on a moment, there's just been things in our past that just don't add up. Yeah. That people have been divorcing or whatever it is, all these spiritual things. Yeah. And saying, you know what, we do need to get prayer, we do need to, because spiritual forces do come into play when you are a Christian, when you recognise that. And I think, you've got to do other things to keep your marriage going, but I think that's a big thing. And I love that. That's great, very commendable. Yeah. But Erin, tell me about, having parents that are divorced.
Yes.
How old were you?
That's a fun question. My mother and my biological father divorced when I was... They separated on and off again. So the final divorce might have been when I was about 5-ish. Okay. And then my mum and my stepfather, who I also consider my dad, a wonderful man, and he raised me, they divorced when my children were very young. So my children have no memory of that set of grandparents being together. So I've gone through it twice, once as a child and then once as an adult.
Okay, but as a child, how did that affect you? Can you remember, how you felt at the time, or?
It's a really difficult, because in my case it was, it wasn't sort of clear cut as in Dad left one day and that was it. There was a lot of separation and reconciliation. There was a lot of issues that went with that. It was really stressful and tumultuous. So when Dad left and stayed left, it was quite a relief in a lot of ways. I missed him terribly, but I suddenly had a very peaceful life. So.
But do you think that's affected you as you've grown and as you've matured?
Definitely. And especially when my mum remarried to a wonderful man who I love so much, and that comes along with this huge amount of guilt. Because how can I love this man and call him Dad and feel like I'm betraying my other dad over here who I love and respect so much as well? So throughout my whole childhood, teenage years, even adult years, it affects you in a huge way. You're constantly balancing the needs of other people rather than having this nice, simple, nuclear family, which I believe is what children are supposed to have.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the church is doing enough to help marriages?
No.
Ooh, Erin, you're going out on a limb there. Go for it, tell me.
I think some do, maybe. It depends on the church. I think churches need to be honest and clear about what is okay and what is not okay in marriage. We might have some churches that are very clear that sex before marriage is not okay. We might have some that say living in a de facto relationship is not okay, but generally they don't. They might stick to the big issues and they might say gay marriage is okay or it isn't or whatever, but I don't think that they take into account that there are all these other issues that can lead to divorce, like sex before marriage, living together before you're married. They're going to really impact how successful your marriage is. And I think churches need to be brave and honest and clear about what the Bible teaches about marriage.
Okay. What about you, Christine?
Yeah, I agree, but I'm just thinking there's like bigger churches, or I'm part of a big church, and I'm just thinking that their doors are open. There is counselling there that you can go to, and they do have like seminars, marriage seminars that they run over, and they invite everybody. It's not just the people who think they've got a problem. It's like, even if you've got a great marriage, you should be coming to this weekend seminars and things.
So, I have to, talking about the pre-marriage counselling, because I have to say my husband and I, because we were Christians, and we did pre-marriage counselling, but we were older Christians. As you say, you ladies were young, and of course you weren't Christians. So, you know, we really were led by our pastor to do some pre-marriage counselling, which we went and did, and it was fabulous. Look, we just loved it. And we, you know, you do a little test to see how compatible you are, you don't have any issues and things like that. But I have to say, look, it really helped. And, you know, and I think it can show you whether you are compatible with your husband or not, and whether you take that advice or not. But I think it's, you know, I think it is really is important that churches do push that as well.
I think it should be mandatory.
Yes,
even
exactly.
for non-Christians. I'm sure there could be a secular pre-marriage counselling about, have you thought about this, this and this?
True. We have to take a break, ladies. I know the time is just flying, but we'll be back. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back. I'm here talking about marriage with Christine Taylor and Erin Goedhart. Now, ladies, before the break, we were talking about counselling, and of course, I have been pointed out that, you know, we do counselling or we do courses where we work, and, you know, courses for various different things. But it's, you know, we don't do counselling. It's not a big thing to do counselling for when your marriage is going downhill. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's talked about enough. I think if people are a little bit more open about when they've had counselling or they've read a good book or done something that has helped them, that's something that we should share with other people, because then the stigma is taken away and other people can be encouraged to go, oh, I might grab a copy of that, or I might go to that marriage encounter weekend, or I might look into that for myself.
Yeah, sure. What about you, Christine?
Yeah, I think so. I think if people are saying they're going to see a therapist or a counsellor, it's maybe looked upon as being weak, or that you need help or something's majorly wrong in your life. And I think it could be used as like, well, to go to somewhere and do something before something majorly wrong goes. And I think it's a sign of strength, actually, that you are fighting for something that you want to last and you want to be happy in. And and if you get blessed with children, that you can bring children up in that marriage as well.
And I think that's something that the church needs to be, you know, to say, because I guess we live in a very competitive society, and to see and that is seen as a failure if your marriage is crumbling, and, you know, you don't want people to know when you see other people's marriages going really well, but you know what, I have to say, I never ever presume that anyone's marriage is going well, because it's like, I've just seen too many times where you think, oh, they're the perfect couple, aren't they? And then, you know, a year down the track, or however many years, it's like they've broken up. Because, you know, I just think we all have our issues. We all struggle in a marriage. Nothing is perfect. But what I wanted to say was, you know, when we do see marriages failing, friends, family, are we vocal enough? Should we be vocal to stand up and say, hey, you know what, I actually see you struggling. How can I help you both?
Definitely.
What should we be doing to help to bring people, to keep people together?
Definitely. Lenny and I have not intruded, but certainly offered support to friends who we felt it's been obvious that their marriage is in crisis. And we've done it in a way that we hope is very respectful, that is private, where I might approach the wife and Lenny might take the husband out for dinner and say, look, hey mate, things don't seem to be going well. I want you to know that I'm here, I care about you, and if there's anything I can do or you want to talk about, let's talk about it, because maybe I want to share some things with you as well. And so you can really just meet someone where they're at and try and help them that way.
Okay, what about you, Christine?
Yeah, I think there's need, if there's, especially it's been asked for, but I think you can be more vocal. We've had family around us and friends that have gone through divorce. Probably the closest one was Shane's brother. He went through a terrible separation. We were in different states, but by the time we actually saw something was wrong, and Shane spoke up and gave him some leadership and gave him some ideas. And actually, it's funny that you said it, because about thinking it looks all rosy on the outside, because Shane sort of said, why didn't you ever come and speak to me earlier? Like, I'm the big brother, why didn't... He goes, well, because you guys are perfect. And he put us on a pedestal, and because we got put on that pedestal, he thought that we had nothing to help him with or contribute to with his, like, you know, the rough things that he was going through. So we stopped him straight away and, you know, told him at least a dozen things that we, you know, fought about the last week, or something that wasn't quite right or that I wasn't happy with. And he was like, oh, really? I'm like, it's not perfect and it's hard. And it was, that actually opened the way for him to listen then too. He goes, oh, you have gone through this? And then he actually did listen and, pull some pointers from that. And his marriage did actually improve for a short time.
Right.
Yeah, for a short time it
Right.
improved. But yes, but it was time to speak up, and I wish we could speak up earlier and sooner.
That's true. And I mean, you mentioned, Erin, about being intrusive, and I think, with that word, I sort of think sometimes you need to intrude, and as you said, you do it well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If you do it well, intruding is actually, is
You
probably
don't want
the
to ever
best
look
thing.
back and go, why didn't I say something?
Exactly.
I saw they were struggling and I
Exactly.
didn't help.
And they might just need someone to listen to. I don't know how well men speak, but women, I mean, we're such great communicators and speakers, and sometimes they just need someone to go blur on and get it all out and have a good whinge about it, and then you can relate from there. And if they do need some help or guidance, or they want your opinion, I mean, you can give it to them, or offer them that book.
Yes.
Take it away, have a read of this. This one helped me, and so they'll take that on board.
Okay, so I want to just take a little step back, because I just want to think about kids in marriage and divorce in particular, because I just wonder, should we stay together for the kids?
Yes.
Do you think that's...
Yes, I'll say yes too.
Really?
But I mean, Erin's probably been through it more than I have. So,
Yes, but can I preface that by saying
Sure.
that there are certain circumstances where there is abuse, addiction, violence. There are a few deal breakers
Definitely.
where, for the safety of everyone in the home, it's best that someone leaves that home. So that's not what I'm referring to here. But the 90% of other divorces is, yes, you should stay together for the kids, but you should stay together and work on a great marriage, because if you don't, you are raising your children in an environment that isn't pleasant for the children. They're smart, they know, and it's not very stable. Even though you've said we're staying together for the kids, they don't feel safe and secure when mum and dad's marriage isn't well. And also, you want to give those children a gift of an example of what marriage should be. And if you don't give them that gift, then not only is your marriage miserable, your son or daughter's childhood is miserable, but their marriage is probably going to be really not very nice either, because the only example they've had is what you've given them. So yes, you should stay together, but you should work on it and make it a great marriage.
And you know what I really liked before you said about your friend that separated from her husband? I think sometimes you do need a bit of time apart. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you need time apart to think things through, and then say, you know what, let's, we are going to be working on this, but we need, I think there's nothing wrong with that. What do you think, Christine?
No, I agree. And also, if there needs time apart, like you said, no one's perfect. So obviously, maybe something's you're dealing with. It mightn't be anything to do with the marriage. It's what you've brought to the marriage, or what you've brought to the relationship. So make sure you're happy. And there are actually those conferences around, self-help conferences and feeling good about yourself. So perhaps you do need to go to one of those by yourself, maybe, or with your partner, and get yourself right and be happy with yourself and start contributing to that relationship and that marriage. And uplift that person. If you're happy, uplift that person and encourage them. So, but I think we definitely, besides in physical and emotional abuse, I think you should. You've got a couple of children to fight for, and I look at my daughter who's only 11. She's a bit concerned of, am I going to find the right person? I'm thinking, oh my goodness, she's grounded until she's 30, so it doesn't really matter. You can still be fine. But I look at the example that we're leading, and I look at Shane. I'm going, he's been such an awesome husband, an awesome father, and I haven't quite said to her, but you'll marry someone like your father. You will, because he's just so loving, and that's what you look for in a husband.
Now that is a great way to end this first part. But ladies, you have to come back next week, because we've got more to talk about. So thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Nikki.
And we'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's all we have for tonight, but be sure to watch next week for our second part of our marriage series. So God bless you. Good night.